to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region. With the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine, I am Kandace Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds. Alarmed by recent gun-related homicides, Minority Leader Kelvin Morris requested a meeting with newly appointed ACP Collis Hazel to discuss developing a crime plan. Morris stated that guns are dangerous weapons that end up in the wrong hands and endanger human lives. He blamed poor detection at the ports of entry for guns sneaking into the island and wants more to be done to detect the importation of illegal weapons. He also called on the THA to urgently develop a crime plan to protect citizens from criminals. Meanwhile, Prime Minister and political leader of the PNM, Dr. Keith Rowley, announced his intentions to dismantle the Service Commission and reform it. Speaking at the PNM Sports Day in Tobago yesterday, Dr. Rowley blamed the Service Commission for many of the problems within the public service and the inability of the government's policy to be properly implemented. As a result, he said there were plans to demolish the Service Commission in 1 year and replace it with a better system for various sectors of the public service. And finally, leader of the Movement for Social Justice, David Abdullah, expressed concerns about the plight of workers in Trinidad and Tobago. He noted that many workers are in a precarious position after not experiencing a wage increase for many years, while having to deal with a 25% increase in food prices and 18% increase in transportation. He also noted that hundreds of workers were laid off from large companies during the past year, while many others struggle to find a job to match their qualifications and skills. Abdullah accused the government of not doing enough to ensure the labor market was viable and sustainable with fair treatment of workers. And that was the news in 90 seconds. Well, viewers, it's Monday morning, and we're getting things kicked off pretty busy this morning because we are going to be speaking with the new head of the Tobago division of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. And that is Mr. Curtis Williams, who was recently elected to the position. Good morning and welcome to you, sir. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm welcome to the Tobago Update set, and morning to all of our listeners and viewers.
Certainly great to have you here this morning. Now, first of all, you've just been elected to the position for heading, the Tobago Chamber and so on. Let's go with what are your intentions? What are you looking forward to doing? What are your visions for your term in office?
Okay, great. First of all, I'd just like to express thanks for our outgoing chairman, Ms. Diane Haddad, who have done human service for us here on the island for the last couple of years. We have a new management team in place, and such team is directed by and managed by Curtis Williams, myself, the chairman, Demi John Cruikshank, the vice chairman, Lisa Cruikshank-Simon, the secretary, Kay Townsend, assistant secretary, Dr. Shepard, tourism and airlift. He's responsible for tourism and airlift. She's one of our committee members. Paula Stoll, she's responsible for events and fundraising, another committee member. Ken Jones Jr., he's responsible for security. Janet Parks, she's responsible for business development. And Natalie Mahabir, she's responsible for environmental. And that's our exciting team to take us through the next 12 months in Tobago.
Great. So what are some of the things that you have up on the agenda?
Well, the first thing on our agenda, we want to extend an invitation to all our businesses, the small micro business on the island. We want to invite them to the folds of the chamber. The chamber was seen as this big boy club.
Yes.
So now we want to express an invitation to all these small businesses on the island, the mini marts, the clothing stores. Our doors are open, and we are all welcoming you to come in and have a chat with us. We really want you to become members.
And why is it important for those businesses, the small businesses, to come on board?
Well, we understand the situation faced with some of these businesses. They are probably trading as, and they want to move to limited, or they are limited and they just don't know how to get to the next level. So we at the chamber could assist you in that whole process of development. We supposed to have soon on board a desk in which we were able to assist all those new members in getting their records and all the accounting and all the development plan worked out. So we're more than excited to have you on board. And we will definitely be there to develop you as you go along.
Okay, great. Now, I just want to turn more to some of the things that are happening within this space in terms of, what is the outlook on the private sector in Tobago? Because we came through some troubling years. Started off with the Sea Bridge challenges in 2017. I mean, there were some challenges before that, but it was especially burdened from 2017 with those problems. And then we had the COVID-19 pandemic that sort of put the nail in the coffin, so to speak, for a lot of businesses. So what are we looking at? How strong is our private sector at this point in time?
Well, presently, most of us are hurt. We have a lot of challenges coming out from COVID and otherwise. A couple of the challenges we face presently, some of our members are faced with payments of suppliers and contractors from the THA. We're working on it, and there were some payments before, so we're working to see how the other could get payments as we go along. We also want to have conversation with the land license, which have been affecting our investment on the island, and we're really working tremendously hard on that one. We know there are challenges with the inter-island transport. We know there are, but we are working with Carl and the Port Authority. Carl have really given us some support, and we are continuing having that working relationship with Carl to see how best we can really work on that inter-island transport situation. We're looking at the improvement in technical and vocational areas within the schooling system and how we can boost it. And that's a conversation we definitely will have with the Education Secretary to see how best we can partner with them to really get that going. We know for sure there's some zoning issues with town and country planning, with where commercial spaces as residential spaces, et cetera, et cetera. So we want to work with these divisions as we go along throughout this term.
All right. Now, you mentioned quite a few things there, so I want to unpack it a little bit, especially the inter-island transportation. Let's start with Caribbean Airlines. You said you already have a working relationship with Caribbean Airlines. Can you expand a little bit more on that?
Sure. Just recently gone with the recent jazz weekend, Caribbean Airlines put on extra flights. Also, the Port Authority had extra ceiling, and that was conversation we had with these entities to assist us when we do have these special events on island. And we want to continue that kind of relationship when there are special events that they could assist us in giving us the support that we so desire. And we want to say thanks to them for that. And we want to look forward to other events coming up and where they can partner and assist us as we go along.
Now, in June, the first couple of weeks in June, the Cabo Star is going to be on dry dock. And there are some concerns because that's 2 weeks, essentially, that vessel is going to be down. And when it comes to transportation of cargo, for especially the materials, the dangerous materials and that sort of thing, we're going to have some issues.
Definitely. We definitely know we would have some challenges there. Our committee member, Mr. Demi Cookshan, he's responsible for inter-island transport, and presently he's having conversation with the Port Authority on how best we can ease that burden on the business community. We know it's mandatory dry dock that the vessel have to go on an emergency one, but we want to work with them as how best we can assist us in getting our materials to Tobago throughout that down period of time. It's hard for us because most of us can't stock as we would like to, because we don't have the money. So, but we're trying our best to see how best we could use the inter-island ferries to assist us in that whole process of moving cargo between the two islands.
What is the feeling amongst the business sector right now in Tobago in terms of, being able to survive and being able to think about growing?
Well, we're looking forward. We want to have a courtesy call with the Chief Sec and his executives so that we can get some idea of the development plans they have for the island and how best we as the business community could really partner with them to get this island moving, because there have been some slowdown, as we all know, and numbers doesn't look like how it used to be before. So we're hoping that meeting, we could be able to discuss things of pertinent importance to get the island back on some sort of upward trend.
What do you think is needed for us to get back there?
Well, basically, we see most of us our balance sheets doesn't look nice anymore. And so we're hoping that somewhere along the line, there's going to be some sort of financing that could assist us in that whole development process. And so we're long waiting to see what's there, what's the plans, and how best they can assist us with the financial sector, whether it's the THA, in getting things back to where it ought to be.
Now, we know one of the concerns that the business sector has put forward recently is that the bank is not confident in terms of give you loans and, make the adjustments necessary to give you that financing to, get some businesses out of the hole. Has that situation changed? Is it looking like it's going to change, or is it still the same?
My last conversation with one of the banks, I wouldn't tell you the name of the bank, but they are all welcome and they will treat each case by itself. And things is looking good. Things is on the horizon. It looks good. And we're waiting to hear what the talks, what the development plans are for the island, and then they could partner with us and get those things going. But things is getting better, looking good according to the bank. And so we're just waiting to get that conversation with them as we go along.
All right. Well, from what you're saying, it all seems very optimistic, and it seems that you're heading into this role with a positive outlook.
Definitely. With this new team I have, we have a dynamic team, and we're all ready to hit the ground rolling. I know there's some challenges we have. We heard about the couple incidents with crime along the island, but we are working with a new Tobago-born ACP, Hazel, and hopefully we'll have a meeting soon with him, and he will be able to indicate to us some of his plans as he could address some of the challenges we as a business community face on the island. So we're looking forward to that meeting with our new ACP in Tobago.
Now, one of the things that Chief Secretary Fali Augustine has repeatedly said is that he wants to see, the private sector be strengthened, and he wants to see more of the workforce move from the THA into the private sector. Because, we have quite a large workforce within the public service, and that cannot really be sustainable for our private sector. Do you have any ideas as to how you can facilitate that movement of people over to the private sector?
Oh, most definitely. We're more than welcome, and we will. But at this present moment, we want to make sure that we get our business up and running, because as I indicated, the couple of years gone, we were under tremendous pressure. So once things look positive, and in terms of the plans that the THA have for the island, and we can really get in there with our finances, I think things will definitely make a shift where we can now take some of that labor and bring it across to us as the private sector. So we're looking forward to that.
When it comes to some of the contractors and suppliers in here in Tobago that are owed, millions of dollars, what's your thinking behind, trying to mitigate that, or trying to find a way for those payments to be made? Because, of course, it has to be balanced with the fact that you only get a certain amount of money from central government. It's a little bit tricky as to how do you pay these outstanding bills that have been there for several years in some cases.
That's correct. And I know, as I indicated, the technical team in the Assembly have been working very hard to assist us in some of the payments. Mm-hmm. And I continue giving them that support to assist us, because we really need the funds. We know for sure, yes, we will get our monies, but we don't know when. But we know for sure it's forthcoming, and we so, again, give them all the support in which to get it going, because there were some funds released just recently. Some of our members did get some payments, which was good, and we appreciate it, but we're looking forward to the other set of payments that will be forthcoming.
You also mentioned earlier the Land License Act and the challenges that pose for Tobago. Yeah. Now, the Chief Secretary did indicate that, it was something that he would consider when he was on the campaign trail. However, ultimately, it's the Parliament, the Minister of Finance, that has to make that decision. So, and this is something that's been spoken about for years, for over a decade, the need to change this. However, nothing has been done. What different are you going to do this time around to convince the Minister of Finance to do the necessary to change the Land License Act to allow for investment?
Well, Kandace, we start the conversation, and this is the first part of it, the conversation being out there in the space that we're having challenges with, and we want the THA to echo our sentiments, and then we will now move it to the next level. But the conversation have started, and we are welcome and excited about that aspect of it and starting the conversation.
Now, when you say the conversation has started, what direction are we looking in? Because, I mean, there is, you can't completely remove it. You need to be some level of control so that, foreign investors don't all come rushing in here and, buy up all the land. What are your proposals as to how you can make this work where there can be less bureaucracy that is discouraging to the foreign investors?
Correct, and you said it. You said it. There is a conversation we need to have with all the stakeholders. So we need the bankers on board. We need the real estate brokers on board. We need all the players and stakeholders within that whole process of the land license. And there, the conversation will be started at that stage. And we will now see where we can go, what aspect of it is hindering the development, and then we will be able to tweak as we go along. But it's something that has been bothering us for quite some years now, and someone need to do something positive about it because it really have an impact on our foreign investment.
What would you like to see it look like?
Well, basically, once you have the necessary players on board, we have the real estate agents, some sort of the committee that forms to get the process going. They will all understand how it is, and then we will show definitely we'll have some things worked out as we go along. But the idea is to have the real estate, the stakeholders on the committee that could assist the technocrats in the process so they understand what's really happening and not just a plain brush as we have it right now.
When it comes to, zoning of Tobago, the island and stuff like that, and, the areas that we should have for development, back, I think it was in 2013 or thereabouts, there was a proposal to have a couple areas zoned for development. That never really came into place. I mean, it was spoken about in Parliament and so on, but it never really happened. What are your proposals in terms of how we treat development on the island?
Well, that's critical because right now we're seeing where in residential areas there are commercial buildings and commercial activities and vice versa. So we want to make sure the island is properly zoned. Folks must know exactly where they fit in and where business can be and so forth. And that's some of the challenges we have. So that conversation will take place with Town and Country Planning, the THA, so as how best we could partner with them to get that part going, because right now there are numerous challenges where businesses operating in residential areas and the residents is feeling oppressed about that, and we're trying to work on that to get that zoning worked out. It's had been a conversation in this space, and we really want to see how best we as a chamber could assist in that process because it really hampering us as we go along.
Now, of course, I mean, if we had to have the zone and then we have to have certain restrictions as to where businesses can develop, it means that some of the businesses that exist right now in those residential areas have to move. Do you have any proposals, any plans, or any ideas as to how do you facilitate that to, I guess, mitigate the impact, the negative impact that might come from a move?
So all of that answers will be coming out of that conversation we're going to have with the THA and the respective division, because it is important that when we have to move these businesses, we put them in the rightful and respective areas that is within the zoning of the Town and Country Planning for the island of Tobago.
Have you been able to speak with the Chief Secretary yet or any members of the THA?
No, we haven't had the opportunity, but we're hoping soon we will have that conversation with the Chief Secretary and his executive. We expect that letter to be dispatched sometime today, and we are asking, come, let's please have a conversation with us as a business community. We really want to have some sort of really meaningful dialogue as we move forward.
Now, I also want to speak to the national body of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. We also had a change there. We have Ms. Kiran Maharaj, leading this as well. And there seems to be a change throughout the whole body. Now, what is your relationship like with the national body? And, how will that help in terms of making sure that you can get the listening ear of the government and you can convince the government to do certain things that will benefit the businesses of Tobago?
Well, I'm glad you raised that point. It was indicated by me, we have an email sometime last week, that both the president and the CEO would like to visit us at our first general meeting, which will be the third Tuesday of this month, and they will be there. We will have a small executive meeting prior to our general meeting, and we will be able to discuss, because we want to forge that relationship with Trinidad at the bigger body. And that was a really good step, that the initiative that the chairperson, the president and the CEO took to really help us forge that relationship, because there are times gone by we were a bit distant.
Yes.
Tobago hurting and Trinidad was just there. So now as we see a new team, new blood, and the relationship has been forged, and it's just going to be just excellent. This term is really going to be exciting. So we look forward to all the other business. We're asking all the small, micro, the hairdressers, all these small businesses on the island, please come have a conversation with us. We want to make you part of the chamber. The chamber is not for the big boys. The chamber is for all business. And we definitely will assist you to move from that micro stage to small. We need to move from that small stage to medium. We are there, open and willing to assist you in all aspects of business, whether it's the accounting, whether it's the business registration. There's some new process now in registering your business. We are all there to assist you in that entire process and advocating for you on behalf of you. That's our main job, to advocate on behalf of you, the small business of Tobago.
Are members of the chamber willing to, disaggregate some of their taxes and so on, so that we can better understand the contribution of Tobago to the GDP? Because it's a concern among the public, because we don't quite know exactly how much money is made in Tobago, because many of the major businesses are national businesses, so they pay their taxes and so on a national level. So and that money is not disaggregated. Those figures are not disaggregated. Is this something that the Tobago Chamber has in mind?
Well, that conversation came up last week, I think. And we asked the question, how much taxes is really being collected here in Tobago? And again, that would be part of one of our agenda items we would have with the Chief Sec and his executive, and the way forward. And because it ought to be understood where everything goes and how it plays, because it's important that business operate on the island pay taxes here, and it will assist us greatly. So we're looking forward to that. Again, you probably have a view of my agenda, but that was one of the questions.
I did not have a view of his agenda, folks.
But we definitely will have with the chief and his executive.
Certainly. Yeah. And then when it comes to advocating for things from the government, because there are certain directives when it comes to the business sector that comes directly from the government that the THA is unable to do. What are some of the things that you want, like the Minister of Finance, to be aware of, especially in terms of business in Tobago, how his policies affect businesses in Tobago?
So we're hoping that after this stage of meeting with the Chief Sec and his team, we will now engage different ministries where we can meet with the technocrats of these various ministries that have the impact on us in business here on the island. The Minister of Trade, she was more than willing. And so we want to extend an invitation, as we will definitely partner with all ministries that affected us here on the island. So we're looking forward to that. It's a bit of excitement knowing that the team is excited and they're willing to make a difference for Tobago. And we are NGO. We are not paid, and we are definitely going to do this because of the love for what we're doing. And my team, as I indicated, is dynamic. They're really, really strong members on the team. We have Dr. Shepard from the Tobago Tourism Institute. I mean, those guys are really looking forward to really doing what it is for Tobago.
When it comes to things like, the VAT refunds, that has always been a challenge for the business sector and so on. What is the feeling in Tobago where those things are concerned? And the fact that, after promises, budget after budget, we've had a promise coming out, but yet it hasn't come to fruition.
That's correct. And just recently, wider membership asked all the members to submit information on VAT refund, how long it have been owing, the amount, and so forth. And I know overall the chamber is definitely going to address it with hopefully a meeting with the finance minister, so that I think that conversation started. So we're just asking members who have issues with VAT to submit that information so that we could really work on the issue, especially with the VAT refund.
Now, do you have any idea, just just an estimate as to, how many businesses might be affected by that?
No, that's why we're trying to tally the data as we speak. We're trying to get that as to say Tobago, okay, Tobago have X amount of VAT refund and so forth. So the main body is putting that data together. And as soon as they have it, I'll definitely pass it on to you guys.
And then for the listening public, why is that so important that businesses get their VAT refunds, especially after what was promised?
Well, the VAT assists with your cash flow. So if you keep taking away the VAT from your business, your cash flow has been affected. And cash flow is the life of a business. So it definitely is important that you keep getting in funds so that you can meet your day-to-day expenses. So we're looking forward to it. So the refund, the minister did promise us, and so we're going to have that conversation with him as we go along.
What are some of the other challenges that are facing the business sector right now in Tobago?
Well, one of the other one, beside what we spoke about, there we look at, as we mentioned, the crime was a big thing for some of us. We've seen there was a lot of break-ins, and I know members is a bit worried about what's happening in terms of, because we've seen it happening in Trinidad, and soon it will come across here.
Yes.
We had 1 and 2 murders in Tobago, which kind of shocked most of us. We normally don't have those kind of activities here. The island is really, really quiet and paradise, but we are concerned, and hence the reason why that was one of our foremost, and we're hoping that we meet with the ACP and discuss that, because we really don't want that kind of activity happening on our beautiful island.
Certainly not.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So now, Mr. Williams, you mentioned that you're opening up the chamber for all the businesses, whether they're small, micro, entrepreneurship, whatever, to come on board with you guys. How can they come on board with you guys?
Well, sure. Our offices at Ansel McCall Building on Milford Road. We're on the 2nd level, and you sure can contact us at 639-2669, 639-2669, in which you can give us a ring, and we definitely will try our best to facilitate you in all spheres. Again, we are there for you, and we want to open that invitation to all business on the island, from Charville to Crum Point, from the mini marts to the stores, the boutiques. We are welcome, and we're open for you.
All right, great. Yeah. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Williams, for spending the time to come with us. And we hope that we can continue this relationship as we go on.
That's correct. And thanks again for having us on Tobago Updates.
All right, great. All right, viewers. Well, we've got to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll continue our conversations.
The energy filled the sky.